The air in the chamber was thick with tension as Ibrahim Traoré, the Prime Minister of Burkina Faso, took his seat at the Grand Hall, surrounded by world leaders. He had seen many speeches before, but today, something felt different. Something in the air stirred anticipation. As Jasmine Crockett, the young congresswoman from Texas, approached the podium, a sudden stillness fell over the crowd. No one knew it yet, but in a matter of moments her words would pierce through the noise and shake the core of every heart present, including the one that had long been hardened by years of battle. Introduction and setup. It was an extraordinary gathering, the kind where history was made. World leaders, diplomats, and political figures filled the Grand Hall of the United Nations. Delegates from across the globe had come to discuss the future of Africa, the complex geopolitics of the Sahel region, and the ongoing struggle against colonial legacies and systemic oppression. Among them was Ibrahim Traoré. Tall, resolute, his face a portrait of quiet strength. Despite his young age, Traoré had already made a name for himself as a fierce leader of Burkina Faso, a man who had risen from the ashes of military conflict, a man whose heart bled for his people. But there was something heavier on him today. The world was watching, and every word spoken would shape the path forward for Africa and the world. Behind his eyes, though, lay a profound sorrow, a battle-worn soul whose scars ran deeper than any political fight. His country was in turmoil, and though he wore the mantle of power, he often felt powerless in the face of the overwhelming injustices that plagued the region. The hum of whispers filled the room as Crockett took her place at the podium. She was young, unassuming, and yet her presence was commanding. Her story, one of grit and determination, was a reflection of the challenges she had faced as a young black woman in a world determined to overlook her. Today, her speech was not just another address. It was the manifestation of years of struggle, heartbreak, and triumph. The lights above flickered, and the room went silent. All eyes were on her. Conflict or challenge introduced. As Jasmine Crockett began to speak, her voice was calm but unwavering. She spoke of the generations of people who had fought for equality, for justice, for dignity. She spoke of how those struggles often went unnoticed, how the world had allowed injustice to seep into every corner of society, and how Africa had paid the highest price. Her words were not directed at any one person, but they seemed to echo straight to the heart of Ibrahim Traoré. The way she spoke of leadership, true leadership, was a mirror to everything he had ever fought for, everything he wished he could achieve but was constantly thwarted by the forces beyond his control. She spoke of moral integrity, of unyielding belief in the worth of every human being, and of the need for self-determination. "I am not here to beg for your attention," Crockett said, her eyes scanning the room. "I'm here to demand it, to demand that you see us, not as pawns in your geopolitical games, but as people worthy of dignity, worthy of the life we've earned." It was in that moment, as she made eye contact with Traoré, that he felt it, a sting deep within his chest. His breath hitched, his throat tightened. Her words reached inside him, pulling out every hidden fear and unspoken sorrow he had buried beneath his leadership. He felt exposed, as though his carefully constructed armor had cracked open, revealing the fragility beneath. His jaw clenched, and a flicker of vulnerability crossed his face, one that the world had never seen. Midpoint revelation or twist. As the speech continued, a quiet revelation came to Traoré. Jasmine Crockett's words were not just a call for justice, they were a mirror of his own soul. The pain she spoke of was not just the pain of the oppressed, it was his pain too. He had known loss, defeat, and struggle. He had witnessed the very same systemic barriers she condemned. Yet, he had never allowed himself to see the bigger picture through her eyes. In that moment, the connection between their experiences became undeniable. She wasn't just speaking for her people, she was speaking for him too. And for the first time in his life, Ibrahim Traoré found himself questioning everything he had believed about his role as a leader. Was he truly doing enough? Was he fighting for the right things? Was the pain of his people, his country, his responsibility alone? He had always thought of himself as a protector, but in hearing Crockett's words, he realized that leadership required something more than just strength. It required vulnerability. A tear formed in the corner of his eye. Climax. Emotional. Breakthrough. As Crockett reached the pinnacle of her speech, a deep silence hung in the air. "We cannot keep looking to the past and expect to move forward," she said, her voice cracking with emotion. "We must look to the future, a future where our voices are heard, where our worth is understood." The words rang in the room. No one moved. Even the most hardened politicians felt something stir in them. But it was Ibrahim Traoré, the strong and unyielding leader, who broke. His breath came fast, his chest heaved, and before he could stop himself, a tear slipped down his face, followed by another, then another. The man who had fought against all odds, the man who had led with a fire no one could extinguish, now wept openly before the world. For the first time in years, Ibrahim Traoré allowed himself to feel the full weight of his responsibility. His people, his beloved Burkina Faso, deserved better. They deserved not just a leader, but a champion of their hopes and dreams. Crockett's words had unlocked something deep within him. The realization that true leadership came from listening, from feeling the pain of the people and carrying it forward with compassion, not just power. In that moment, as the tears streamed down his face, he made a vow to himself and to the world. He would fight for the future she spoke of. He would give everything he had, not for politics, not for power, but for justice, resolution, and quiet closure. When the speech ended, the room was still. Jasmine Crockett stood there, her chest rising and falling, breathless from the passion of her words. There was no applause, just a profound silence that seemed to hang in the air as though the world was collectively holding its breath. Ibrahim Traoré stood, wiping his eyes. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, one by one, the room erupted in applause. The sound was deafening, but for Traoré, the noise faded into the background. All he could hear was the quiet echo of his own heart, whispering a promise he had made. As he left the hall, he found himself walking with a new purpose. He was no longer the man who had lived in the shadows of his own grief and guilt. He was a man reborn, and the weight of his country's future no longer felt like a burden. It felt like a call. And as the sun dipped beneath the horizon that evening, a new chapter began for Ibrahim Traoré, and for all who believed in a better tomorrow. Call to action. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing for more inspiring tales of hope, healing, and unexpected kindness. Hit the like button and share this with someone who needs it today.